Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sisters, barakah sisters. Welcome to Halal versus Haram, and today we're gonna dive right into halal and haram investing. So we talked about Islam and wealth, so I'm gonna go into the technical details of what is halal investing, what are some of the principles of halal investing, without being too technical. Of course, I'm trying to go technical without technical. It's okay. Basically, in halal investing, it encourages the prohibition of riba, which is interest, and the avoidance of haram industries. We're going to go into the details soon. Steering clear of haram practices, ethical and socially responsible investing. That itself is not halal investing, but halal investing can include that as well. And low risk, high morality. In general, what I've shared previously was that because in halal investing we have to follow the various criterias, it enables basically it means that we're choosing companies that are more stable, that have lower that have more cash flow, that have lower debt. So in essence, those are more stable companies and bigger companies. It's those small companies that tend to be riskier to invest in. Okay. Next, so haram investing. Sometimes I I wonder though. So I do hear like Muslims talking about investing in like government bonds, treasury bonds. Those tend to give you a 3 to 4% or slightly lesser. So basically enough to cover inflation. However, they are not halal. They're not Sharia compliant because they are based on lending with interest. Okay. In many of the books that I've read, they talk about managing the risk with by using bonds. So the stocks work in opposite direction from the bonds. So when stocks go up, bonds go down. When bonds go up, stocks go down. So that's why it's a good idea to have both stocks and bonds. Bonds are not for growth, they're for stability, they're for balance, and stocks are for growth. So for now, my portfolio doesn't include any bonds. I recently bought it, but then I decided to sell it because I don't see the point of it yet. And I'm happy with how my portfolio looks like. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so the next point in for haram industries, what are haram industries? Alcohol, gambling, conventional banks, insurance, pork, pornography, and arms. When I first started investing many years ago, almost 20 years ago, I bought this company called SMRT, which has been privatized. So what happened to my so it's at that time it wasn't very clear whether it was Sharia compliant, but basically we're just looking at the business model or what it does. Okay, so we just assume that it's halal because basically they provide transportation, right? But you have to actually understand a lot more details about the company before you invest, and not just assume just because the business activity is halal, it is a Sharia compliant company. So in the past, there were a lot of like different screening tools that were not, I don't know, they were maybe manually calculating the percentages that makes it haram or halal, and that's why it's not very reliable. I also bought this REIT called Sabana, which I've shared previously, and it was a Sharia compliant. It was the first Sharia compliant REIT. So REIT is real estate, so there are halal options. So, for example, shopping malls in Singapore, the good stocks are the good REITs are shopping malls, but shopping malls are not clearly Sharia compliant because they consist of not halal, basically banks and things like that. So, and then investing directly in banks is definitely not halal. And I just want to give an example. I used to own this stock that is called Public Storage. So basically, it's a US company. They provide storage for people, right? Or companies. And what happened though is they become non-share compliant because their business activities changed. Instead of just providing storage, they also started providing insurance. And then the insurance part makes them not halal or not share compliant. And for example, supermarket stocks would not be considered share compliant like Shingxiong, or if you're in the US, is Walmart, or if you're investing in the US, because they will probably sell alcohol and pork, cigarettes, and so on and so forth. Companies like Microsoft is questionable. Let's talk about Facebook. Okay, Facebook, the company name is Meta, which is what is powering WhatsApp as well. A lot of things that we use actually, but it is it might have content that like advertising that makes it non-share compliant. So it's actually a lot more complicated than just whether the business activity is halal and whether we understand what the business activity is. So fortunately for us, there are a lot of screeners today that tells us straight away whether it's halal or not, right? So all the more we have no excuse to not invest. Alhamdulillah for the conveniences today. Okay, so I talked a lot about business activity screen. So like I say, the tool actually will tell you whether it's halal or haram. And there are financial ratio screens. Okay, what are financial ratio screens? Basically, the debt ratio the total debt must be less than 30% of the market cap or assets of the company. The cash plus interest-bearing securities, that means their investments that are collecting interest, must be less than 30%, and accounts receivables, that means other businesses or companies have not paid them, must be less than 30%. This is to keep the company safe, and this is not something I set myself. This is set by Sharia compliant, Islamic Sharia compliant boards. The most common one is called the AOFI standard. Okay, this board actually has many rules and regulations to make sure that what we invest in is halal. Okay, I'm just gonna show you a snapshot. So basically they consist of you can go read up about it. Okay, there are 26 accounting standards, 5 auditing standards, 2 code of ethics, 7 governance standards, to make sure that what you're buying is actually halal. Okay, so that's that's what we can do. We can invest in companies that meet these criteria, and these criteria are have been released by Islamic scholars. Okay, there are more than one. There are about 6 different bodies that certifies the companies to be share compliant or not, based on whatever different standards. And then the third portion is purification of non-halal income. So because there are a little bit of non-halal income, you need to purify that income. So what I usually do is I do a yearly, I pay my zakat, I pay my purification and things like that. Okay. Next part. So now what not to do when you want to invest. A lot of people ask me this question: is it the same as trading? Or I know this person who did forex and lost money, I know this person who played shares and lost money. So it's because those are generally higher risk. I've done something called options as well. It's also higher risk, and for that, for all of this, it is not very clear whether it's halal or not. Okay, but when you are investing in stocks, investing in ETFs for the long term, it is halal according to the Sharia standards and Islamic scholars. You don't want to invest without knowledge. This is something I learned the hard way. I lost money, as I've shared previously. The screenshots of my Singapore investments and my Islamic crowdfunding investments are all lost because I was investing without knowledge. So I highly, highly recommend you to learn before you invest. And the knowledge is going to save you so much more money from losses if only you invest a little bit to learn how to invest on your own. The ROI is really high. Okay, the return on investment is really high. You should also not follow hypes and trends, like when somebody say, oh, the market's going to go down, or I'm not going to invest now because market very high. So all these are just news and hypes. They might not be true, and usually when the news comes out, it's usually over. Recently I read that the stock market has gone down 6%. When I log in, it's actually gone back up already. Yeah, so news cannot be 100% trusted. And the way I teach, you don't have to know what's going on in the world. You don't have to follow. You just buy the ETFs and you don't even need to check. You buy and you leave it. So if you're thinking of buying for income, I would say take some time to build it up first before you can withdraw. Buy good companies, but panic sell when the stock price drops. This happens when you are not, again, you do not have the knowledge, so you think it's going down, and then you panic sell. So what are some of the misconceptions about halal investing? That halal investing is difficult. So as I said, halal investing has been made easy. There are lots of screening tools like Zoya and Musafa, and these are some examples of halal ETFs, SPUS and HLAL. There are so many more. These are just two examples, okay? I'm not going to go into the examples today. How to invest at a low cost. So I highly recommend that whatever that I share, okay, it's for educational purposes. They are not a recommendation to buy now, to buy this or that, to start investing now. Always invest with knowledge. Okay? So how to invest at a low cost. What you can do is invest on your own. When you invest through somebody else, they always take a cut. So before you start earning profits, they already take their fees. Whether or not you make a profit, they already charge you a fee because they're doing it for a living. Okay, so financial advisors usually take like 2%, 1%, and that can be significant if your capital is significant. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the BDS movement companies. So there are ways that you can invest. Let's say you say, okay, Parvin, in the halal ETF, there are BDS movement companies. So there are ways that you can invest through Zoya and Musafa and a lot of different companies. There are many different companies that allow you to invest in so for example, you can choose any ETF, even the non-halal ETFs. There are hundreds of ETFs, okay? But for halal ones, not 100, maybe 30, 40, quite a lot still. There are hundreds of non-halal ETF. You can pick any ETF, any exchange traded fund, and then you can run it through the fund purifier or Zoya, and you can remove companies that are in the BDS movement, so that your money is not contributing to those companies. Okay, and then what you might, by doing that, you might also disturb the balance of the ETF. But another alternative is to invest in individual stocks. But as I've shared, that is a lot more riskier, and you need to learn a lot more in order to invest in individual stocks. There are people who do it and maybe they get lucky and they are profiting from some of their stocks, but honestly, I wouldn't encourage it. especially if you're busy, you don't have time to monitor, you don't have time to do your research. The best way is halal ETFs. So this is like my cheat sheet. How do I start if I have $1,000? Firstly, set up my emergency funds. So your emergency funds, please take notes here because it's really important to set up your emergency funds before you start investing. So emergency funds are 3 to 6 months of your expenses or income, whichever you feel more comfortable. For example, if your income is $4,000, you want to keep $4,000 times 3 or 6 months, and that will be emergency funds that should be liquid and easy for you to retrieve if you need extra money for emergencies, as what the name mentions. Okay, as of the second point, pay off debts, especially if you have like maybe student loans, or you owe your friend money, or you owe somebody money, or a renovation loan, something that is of higher interest, not the normal mortgage loans that we have here in Singapore. If you have any other loans, please pay that first before investing. Do another question. The third thing is you have to ask yourself, do I need this money in the next 5 years? If the answer is yes, don't invest it. If the answer is no, you can invest it. Next point, number 4, step 4 is open your brokerage account. So you can open a brokerage account, and then you can deposit money in and pick a halal ETF, set up your monthly automation. If you're a stay-home mom, you don't have regular income, not a problem. You don't have to put automation, but when your money is not in a system, then you gotta manage it. Okay? Either way, not a problem as long as you start and you have a plan. Okay? And a structure. That's really, really important. Having a plan and a structure is really, really important when you invest, because you want to reach a certain financial goal. Now, how do I make halal? How do I make money in halal investing? There are 3 different ways. Number 1 is capital appreciation. I'm going to explain using this example below here. Capital appreciation, for example, I buy this company called KMB, and I bought it at $133. And then I waited for a while and I sold it at $145. So my gain is $12. This is if I have 1 lot. If I have 10 lots, my gains will be times 10, and I would have put in 1 times 10 of this times 10 of everything. Okay, that means I bought it at $1,330, I sold it at $1,450, and my gains will be $1,120. Okay, if it's times 100, then it's all times 100. Okay, you don't have to do any of this math. If you do it in the brokerage, the math is done for you. Okay, I'm just explaining what capital appreciation means. Capital can appreciate and you gain, capital can depreciate and you lose. This is if you buy individual stocks. Okay, I buy both individual stocks as well as ETF. Just for context, I actually invested in a few courses before I started investing, and I have invested in around, to upskill, to learn, to understand things better, to learn how to invest, and all that. I actually invested around 11,000 in courses so that I can learn how to invest and other skills as well. So the next one is, as I've mentioned here, is dividend income. So this is my actual dividend income. You can see I started in 2024, so it's so far doing good. My focus is now not on dividend stocks, it's more towards ETF, but I still do have dividends, alhamdulillah. So that one is money that is paid out every month, but I'm not taking it out of my brokerage unless I need the money, but most of the time I just leave it in there. Okay, the third one is called unrealized gains. So I'm going to show you, this is my son's portfolio. If you follow me on Instagram, I actually show his portfolio a lot. It's the one that has, so right now, if you can see, I just want you to bring your attention to this thing called unrealized unrealized profits, and it's sitting at $177. This was in August 2025. For context, I started this portfolio in March 2025, and in August the profit was $177. In September the profit went up to $249. It goes up and down, okay? So this is not every month, August, September, and then it's April 2026 when it went up to $1,600. This is the first time it actually crossed $1,000, and I was also managing his portfolio, and in June 2026 it went up to $4,000. Alhamdulillah, Allahumma barik. So this is unrealized profit and loss, which means it is potentially this amount if I sell it today or in June 2026. This is the amount. It goes up and down every single day when the market is open. So this one is paid out. This one doesn't go up and down. This one, once you sell it, your gain is either realized or it's the gain or loss. It's realized already. If you have not sold like this, it is considered unrealized. Okay, if you sell it, it will go under here. So some people actually tell me like it's very confusing to read the brokerage and all that, so I actually explain all these in detail. So that's all for my halal versus haram investing. I hope that it's clear. I hope that you're not overwhelmed, and I would have a lot more to share with you, inshallah. Please ask me any questions if you have. All right, thank you so much, and see you in the next one.